I've just finished making a batch of cheesecake gin. Yes, I actually put cheesecake in it. I'm going to show you exactly how I made this and give you a very, very tasty and addictive way to enjoy it. How's it going, chasers? I hope you're having a kick-ass week. I'm Jesse, this is Still It, and welcome to another episode of Meme Spirits, where I take random ingredients, throw them into a still, and distill them. A, because it's kind of fun and it's interesting to see what happens. And B, because it teaches me, and hopefully you guys, a bunch about what flavors do when you distill them. And every now and again, I strike gold and find inspiration that leads to a serious recipe. Normally, when I do these videos, I put about, I don't know, maybe a liter into this little pot still along with the ingredients, give it a nudge, because I don't want to waste too much booze if it turns out being crappy. But today, I am cautious, no, I'm not cautious, I'm optimistic that cheesecake gin is just going to be straight up delicious. So much so that I've even planned out a cocktail I'm going to make with the gin before I've even made it. Anyway, you get the point, I think you understand. Enough of that, the botanicals are weighed out, let's make gin. Of course, the first thing we need is alcohol. This is actually the smoky vodka that I made for the last absinthe. I've got a decent amount left. I think there'll be a tickle of smoke in this at the end, like barely perceptible. And I think that'll actually add to it. I'm fine with that. Oh, of course, if you want to check that video out and see how I made this vodka, there's a link in the description down below. I'll put a couple other links there too to, you know, if I was actually making this from scratch, what I would probably use. And that would probably be the silky, fruity vodka that I made a while ago. There'll be a link for that down there as well. Now, like I said, this is going to be a double batch. So we've already got a liter of 50% ABV vodka in there. And we're going to knock that up to 1.5 liters. Boom. And I have the botanicals pre-weighed out for Jesse's base gin. This is the gin, the recipe that I start at. Every time I think of a gin, this is what I start with, and then I'll change and tweak from there. More often than not, it's tweaking the botanicals. Today, we're throwing cheesecake in. So first of all, into what is a double batch of Jesse's base gin, 30 grams of crushed juniper berries, 30 grams of not crushed juniper berries. I should probably stop calling them crushed. What's a better? Bruised. They're bruised juniper berries. I just kind of want to crack the outside a little bit to let the spirit in to do its solventy thing. Next up, we have 16 grams of coriander seeds. Once again, this is in the pestle and mortar and just kind of cracked open, so they're all half coriander seeds, split coriander seeds. 8 grams of lemon zest from our tree in the backyard, which is an absolute godsend. It's amazing. If I was making a limoncello, I would be more conscious of how much of the white pithy stuff is making it into the peel and into the still. But we're going to distill this. It's going to take all the bitterness out. I don't care. Oh, we do have a slight variation from my base gin recipe, which is subbing out half of the lemon zest for lime zest. So this is another 8 grams. And last of all, got to have some sort of root in there, right? Licorice root did not feel right for a passion fruit cheesecake gin. So we are going with 1.4 grams of Angelica root. Bloop. All right. Cheesecake time. And I know, I get it. I understand that a boxed cheesecake from the supermarket is a sorry excuse for a cheesecake. I get that. I understand. But for starters, this is kind of a, how would I put it? It's a test to see, wow, these are not like they used to be, man. They used to have the little covers on them. I used to love the hell out of a supermarket cheesecake. But what was I saying? There we go. All right. So in some ways, it's a stand-in to kind of test this out, meme spirit style. And then if there's something to it, we can kind of do a deconstructed proper cheesecake to see if that's going to be better. On the other side of things, there's a strange thing that happens, and I've learnt this through meme spirits, is that sometimes, oh no, my cheesecake's my watch. Sometimes real flavors, when I say real flavors, I mean if you want strawberry, just put damn strawberries in the still, right? Sometimes when you distill real things, they come out in a very one-dimensional, like only part of the flavor comes through, and it ends up tasting like kind of fake candy flavor of whatever it was. Sometimes this weird thing happens when you put fake candy flavor in, and it gets somehow more complex and more quote-unquote real tasting when you distill it. And I can't explain why. I do not know why, but there is a small part of me that just has a hunch that the passion fruit flavor in these cheesecakes is going to be one of those things. I'm also hoping to get a slight amount of the biscuity crust coming through, a very slight amount. I'm worried that that may kind of grunge things up a little bit. And from the cheesecake filling, I kind of more want a mouth presence, like a, I don't know how to put it, a creamy feeling, I guess. If we can get a little bit of the flavor coming through too, I would be happy with that. So we've got about a third of the cheesecake cut up. And I've just almost lost me dessert for tonight. I've just diced it into rough cut it into smaller pieces, so it'll break up in the still a little bit easier. Can't let all that passion fruity goodness go to waste. All right, so now it is time to get the heat on the still. I'm going to bring it up to, let's say 50 degrees Celsius. We'll let it sit for, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours, and then we can run this out and see just how crazy I am. All right, that is now at 50 degrees Celsius. We can turn it off. I always unplug it at this stage so I don't accidentally leave it on and lose all of my spirit. Pop the lid on, and while this was heating up, I decided, you know what? If we're going to do this, let's do it. So I ended up putting the rest of the half of the cheesecake in, and then scalped all of the passion fruit goodness off the top and waxed that in as well. So dessert is not exactly attractive tonight, but I guess someone will eat it? I don't know. So this needs to sit and macerate for at least 2 hours. I'll be back when it's time to distill it. The kids are fed, showered, and in bed, which means it's back to work for me. This has been macerating for 4 hours. Going to put a little under 400 mils of water into the pot to get this down under 40% ABV. We'll get the lid on and crank up the, well, I'll turn the power on. You can't really crank the power. It's either on or off with this bad boy. And I'll get back to you when it is heated up and we're ready for first drips. We are up and running. We're going to take a teensy bit off the top. Let's see if that is a large enough teensy bit. Maybe just a hair more. I guess this is a double batch too, so there is that. All right, there we go. So once again, this isn't for cuts purposes. We're not doing it because of the alcohol presence, the alcohol itself, the intensity of the alcohol or anything like that. We're doing it purely because there's weird stuff in the very beginning of botanicals. Yeah, we're good. All right, so this is going to be an interesting one. The other reason I was very careful to do that quickly is I had a hunch that the passion fruit flavor may live very close to the beginning of the run. I am getting it. It's pretty passion fruity now. Anyway, let's settle in. We'll get this run through. Right now it tastes, oh yeah, wow, there's more passion fruit now. That's delicious. Juniper and passion fruit is a good combo. But yeah, like I say, if anything pops up, I'll let you guys know. My guess is we're probably roughly about a third of the way into this run. Interestingly, the citrus, most of the citrus came after the big pineapple flavor at the beginning, which is a nice thing to know because most of the time when I do these things, the citrus is very, very close to the beginning. That felt a little bit different this time. I'm very glad that I went with a bit of lime because that did, to me at least, make it feel, or does make it feel, more on the kind of tropical spectrum of fruit flavor, which fits with passion fruit. I know it's not a tropical fruit, but it kind of tastes that way to me. I think I'm starting to taste a little bit of that cheese flavor. It's, I guess in terms of flavor, kind of similar to cream cheese, something like that. Very, very soft, distinctly dairy, not sharp or funky like most cheese that I think about. But it's also, it almost feels like you're putting nothing into your mouth right now. It's super soft. When I tasted it a second ago, I was scared that I'd messed up and was all the way down at like 40% ABV without thinking about it. I'm definitely not. Anyway, interesting things happen when you put random things into a still. I guess we'll see what happens next. I've been tasting pretty much constantly since I last talked to you, which was, I don't know, probably 8 minutes ago. And another really interesting and helpful thing about sitting here and watching a still run like this that has multiple flavors in it is that flavors that you find hard to define will often get broken up into chunks. And then when you see them as the separate chunks, you realize that it's not really a single note, it's a chord, if that makes sense. And that cheese flavor that I couldn't describe, I think I've got a handle on it now. It's a soft, like milky vanilla sweetness with a touch of coconut and the cream cheese thing that I was talking about before. And all of those things together are pretty close to the cheesecake filling taste. Not a baked cheesecake, a non-baked cheesecake. I'm guessing we're probably at about 65% ABV still, and I'm definitely starting to get some of that biscuit base flavor come through, but not quite how I imagined. I thought it was going to taste almost whiskey grain-like, but instead it's much more confectionery. I'm finding it hard to talk because my mouth won't stop freaking running. It's more like a caramel cookie. It's a lot sweeter, it's a lot more refined, which kind of makes sense, to be honest, when I think about it. And I think it's going to fit this overall gin a lot better than that straight-up grain flavor was. Like, I was interested to see if it came through. I was slightly worried that it was going to make it just kind of muddy. So all in all, I'm thinking this run was a success. I'm going to run this out until I either hit what I am guessing is probably 55% ABV, or the flavors just start getting muddy or diluted down and nothing exciting is coming off. We'll get the distill turned off, proof this down to 45%, I'm thinking, for this one, and we can make a cocktail and taste the gin. There we have it, the final product bottled up and even labeled for once. How good is that? Let's have a taste, shall we? Okay, so first and foremost, this is still a gin. It doesn't taste like candy predominantly. The juniper is forward. I'm getting juniper, coriander, a touch of the citrus. That lime is definitely pushing things a little bit more tropically than a gin that has only lemon. And a little bit of the Angelica root at the ends to kind of earthy round it out. Really happy with this. But sitting behind all of that, we're definitely getting aspects from the cheesecake as well. The passion fruit's probably the most intense out of the three sort of separate flavors from the cheesecake. It's there, it's not super intense, it's kind of like a supporting actor in this one. Also getting some of the biscuity base, Like I said while distilling, it's not a grainy flavor, it's more like a caramel biscuit flavor. And definitely getting some of the cheesecake filling as well, which is kind of vanilla, coconut, dairy product, cream cheese like flavor. All in all, as a gin like this, it's pretty delicious. But I think we can bring out those flavors and make them into more of a star if we put this into a cocktail. I need to say a huge thank you to the Patreons. Thank you, Patreons, for being the people that support us day in, month out. We totally freaking appreciate it. I also appreciate the feedback the Patreons have been giving me on the new absinthe shirt coming up with Into the AM. I appreciate the input into the drafts. I'll be getting that feedback sent off to Bear at Into the AM, and hopefully we'll have something cool coming out pretty soon. So let's make a cheesecake gin float, and the first thing we're going to need is 15 mils of cream. I tried making this without any dairy in it, and there was 2 issues with it. One, it kind of went semi-translucent, and you got the weird like wispy bits coming down off the ice cream. It just kind of looked like dirty sock water or something. And 2, I think what's happening is the extra fat is helping to create more of a foamy bubble rather than big, like gigantic bubbles when we put the ice cream in. We're also going to need 15 mils of milk and 15 mils of honey. If you're doing this in parts, that's 3/4 of a part of each of those 3. Next up, the star of the show, 2 parts or 40 mils of our gin. Next up, we are going to gently pour in some tonic water to about 3/4 of the glass. A generous scoop of ice cream gently on top. And you can put just a touch more tonic in now that we know exactly what the liquid level is going to be. And a nice little mint garnish in the foam next to the ice cream. There we go. You're going to want to serve this with a spoon to get at the ice cream and a straw. Unfortunately, I've got these giant straws that look a bit silly in this drink, but hey, it is what it is. That's freaking delicious. So the honey syrup helps to multiply and bring out the passion fruit. Something about a lot of fruit flavors, man, when you add a little bit of sugar, they just pop. And the milk and the cream is helping to bring out the dairy-like flavor of the cheesecake filling. And the texture, man, like when it's like the top on a flat white coffee. Delicious. And of course, when you so choose, you can grab a little scoop of ice cream. Delicious. If things start getting too sweet for you, you take a sip from the bottom of the cup, and now it pretty much just tastes like a gin and tonic. So the bitterness from the tonic kind of cuts through all the sweetness of the dairy and the ice cream sitting on top. That was a little bit too bitter. You know what? I might just have to have some more nice and sweet. Tastes like passion fruit cheesecake. Yum. So it's very obviously not the kind of cocktail you want to sit down and drink 8 of. I mean, some people might, but I definitely wouldn't. But I think it really has a place for, you know, serving something special at the end of a meal instead of dessert. Or you've got a couple of friends hanging around on a nice warm summer evening near the pool at about dusk. I don't know, man. This is pretty freaking awesome. So this went about as well as a Meme Spirits episode ever goes. I do have to admit that I was entirely shooting from the hip, and I got lucky here. It turned out absolutely fantastic. But the thing is, the more I do this, the more I play with random things in the little still, the luckier I get. So I'm hoping this is giving you a license to play around and do some kind of strange things with distilling, because sometimes it turns into gold. I will catch you next time, team. Keep chasing the craft. See ya.